It's Monday, June 15, and it's time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Passengers arriving on flights originating from countries classified as low risk for COVID-19 cases are now being allowed to quarantine at home. The new policy, implemented by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, went into effect over the weekend with the arrival of 15 passengers on Caribbean Airlines, comprising mostly students from the University of the West Indies, Mona and St. Augustine campuses. On arrival, they were swabbed, interviewed and informed of the requirements for home quarantine, which include confinement to their residences and daily monitoring for symptoms by public health officers for 14 days. The new policy currently applies to people whose flights originate in parts of the Caribbean and other similar low-risk countries. All other arriving passengers are required to quarantine at a state-managed facility or a designated hotel at their own expense. Now, the new policy comes ahead of today's talks between the government and the social partnership on border closures and reopening. During last week's address to the nation, Prime Minister Mia Mottley revealed that a final decision on the Grantley Adams International Airport and the Bridgetown Port would be made following those discussions. In other news this Monday, students who are sitting this year's Barbados Secondary School Entrance Examination, better known as the Common Entrance or 11 Plus, are back in the classroom today on a phased basis. The move back to the school plant is to allow teachers face-to-face interaction with their students ahead of the July 14 exam. Speaking on the current affairs program Down to Brass Tacks on Sunday, Acting Chief Education Officer Joy ADAMSON said a number of protocols have been put in place for students and staff.
We told teachers at the beginning when they go in next week to make sure that they demonstrate these things to the children, how to take your mask off, how to put it on, how to wash your hands properly. We've been hearing all of the PSAs out there about what we need to do. We've been seeing it, but we are demonstrating it, and that is why we have posters posted throughout the school. UNICEF, again, as I told you, would have shared these posters with us, would have printed them for us. We have brochures going home to the parents to tell them what they need to do as well in terms of teaching the children the right thing. If the child is feeling sick, do not send it to school. If you are feeling sick as an adult, do not send it to school. We've made sure that every school has a thermometer. Again, this is something donated to UNICEF. So they have the infrared thermometer, so we're taking the temperature. And the temperature is not only for the children. The temperature is for every adult that enters that compound. Teacher, members of staff, visitor to the school compound, so that we do not put anybody into an area that we have sanitized that would be ill. So that has a fever, I should say, and you can have a fever for several different reasons. So that is what we are monitoring, and that's what we are putting in place.
Barbadians are being urged to denounce all forms of elder abuse. It's coming from the Barbados Association of Retired Persons as it joins the rest of the world today in observing and heightening the awareness of elder abuse under the theme Lifting Up Voices. BARP President Marilyn Rice Bowen urged the public to be cognizant of the red flags of elder abuse and to speak out against such acts, as it cannot be erased without action.
As a society, let's ensure that seniors spend their remaining days on earth free from sexual, physical, and financial abuse. They deserve to live in an atmosphere of dignity and respect. Whereas some might lack the physical strength to march against elder abuse, let's use our pens and our access to social media as tools of advocacy. Lift up our voices and defend the human rights of the seniors in our midst. One case of abuse is one too many. The Barbados Association of Retired Persons is committed to the protection and rights of seniors in our island, and we shall continue to lift our voices in opposition to elder abuse. Our ultimate aim is the eradication of this global social issue from our landscape. Let's continue to embrace the theme for 2020, Lifting Up Voices.
Catholic churches across the country yesterday reopened their doors for service for the first time in several weeks on the COVID-19 protocols, including a condition that those desirous of attending would have to register in advance. At least 7 congregations held a mass and facilitated communion in sanctuaries reconfigured to facilitate physical distancing. At Our Lady Queen of the Universe Catholic Church, Monsignor Vincent Blackett opted to facilitate Sunday's service in the annex instead of the main sanctuary.
Well, I'll tell you something. I have to be honest and say, getting myself together to come down to do it was a bit apprehensive. What is this going to be, you know? But then, as I gone into it, I felt it's just another day, another Sunday, celebrating Mass for the people. I mean, it doesn't have all the elaborate things that you would usually have, but still it was very good.
And in terms of control, you know, when finally able to move back into the main sanctuary?
I suppose end of the month or next month. But I like it in here because it's spacious, and I don't want to go into a situation because that you have benches. Here you have chairs, and there's space, the amount of space that they're supposed to be. When you go in there, it could be different.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Sunday announced a state of public emergency in sections of the corporate area, stating that the current state of crime in some police divisions could spiral into chaotic ends. The Prime Minister revealed during a press briefing that there has been an increase in gang activities in Kingston, as well as extortion in the Market District and the South Coast Highway project.
This will connect the states of public emergency existing in the Kingston East and St. Andrews South police divisions, creating an effective security corridor along the waterfront from Bull Bay in the east to Ferry in the west. The space now declared has seen increased criminal activity in the second quarter of this year. These areas, if left unchecked, have shown historically that they can spiral to chaotic ends, even having national disruptive impact. We are also observing that the gangs in these areas are not confining themselves to traditional geographical boundaries within community locations, operations, and affiliations. This presents the possibility of super gangs emerging through collaboration, and this creates a platform for the insemination of more nefarious and foreign criminal activity. We have also seen an increase in criminal activity in extortion, especially around the market districts and the South Coast Highway Improvement Project.
And finally, the Fulton County, Georgia Medical Examiner's Office has released the findings on the body of Rashad Brooks, a black man killed by a white police officer in Atlanta recently. According to a statement by the office, the 27-year-old died from organ damage and blood loss from 2 gunshot wounds. The autopsy performed on Sunday listed his death as a homicide. More in this report from Reuters TV.
He had about 1.5 drinks.
Atlanta police on Sunday released this video that showed the moments leading up to the fatal shooting of Rashard Brooks, whose autopsy reportedly showed he was shot twice in the back. Footage from Officer Devin Brosnan's body cam shows him waking Brooks, who was asleep at the wheel of a car in a Wendy's drive-thru lane.
You're parked in the drive-thru right now.
Hey, sir. You right? Nothing whatsoever.
Once fellow officer Garrett Rolfe arrives, the video showed the two officers questioning Brooks.
All right, just take a deep breath in.
And then performing a sobriety check.
I think you've had too much to drink to be driving.
The situation then quickly spun out of control. The video then showed Rolfe attempting to put handcuffs on Brooks, who struggled with the two officers before breaking free and running across the parking lot. A second videotape from the restaurant surveillance cameras shows Brooks turning as he runs and possibly aiming a taser at the officers before one of them fires his gun and the 27-year-old falls to the ground. The police department has fired Rolfe, the officer who allegedly shot and killed Brooks, while Brosnan was put on administrative leave. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution on Sunday reported that the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office concluded that Brooks died from organ damage and blood loss from 2 gunshot wounds. The killing of Brooks and his encounter with the 2 white officers ignited fiery protests in Atlanta and prompted the city's police chief to resign. Meanwhile, authorities on Sunday announced a $10,000 reward to identify those responsible for setting fire to the Wendy's restaurant where the incident took place.
Email updates or like us on Facebook and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.